Hello everyone, welcome to Neso Academy. In the previous lecture, we understood friend classes. We got to know that we can define a class that can access private and protected members of some other class. We call that class the friend class of the other class. Now in this presentation, we will understand the concept of friend member functions. So without any further delay, let's get started with this lecture and let's see what are the topics. There is only one topic and the name of the topic is friend member functions. Now let's understand what are friend member functions. A friend member function is a member function that can access private and protected members of some other class. First of all, it is a member function of some class, and it can access private and protected members of the other class. That is why it is called friend member function. Also, it is useful when we don't want the entire class to have access. We know that when we define a friend class, then the entire class have access to the private and protected members of the other class. But what if we want that only the specific member functions of the class should be able to access private and protected members of the other class? If we want this, then we should not define the class as friend class. Instead, we can define some member functions, the friend member functions. In this way, we will allow access to the private and protected members of the other class to some member functions only, not all the member functions of the class. I hope this idea is clear to you. Now to make this more clear, let's take the same example program we took in the last lecture. Here is the example program we have understood in the last lecture. Here we have the class diary, which mimics the real life diary that allows us to set the secret message via this function setSecret. Through this function, we can provide some string to this variable secret, which is the private member of this class. Here we have defined the class bestFriend, which mimics the best friend. And this class can access the private member secret. And here, through this readSecret function, we can read the secret message. This is what we can observe. And this is what we saw in the last lecture as well. And this is possible because this class is defined as the friend class of this class. That is why it can access private and protected members of this class diary. Therefore, in this member function, we can access the private member secret. Apart from this, inside the main function, I have set the secret message. I have a crush on coding. This is what we have done before. And through readSecret, we have read the secret message as well. Now here you can observe that I have added this function talk. This is the function I have added just now. It is not the case that this function was available in the code that we saw in the previous class. This is also the member function. And because this class is defined as the friend class of this class, this member function can access private and protected members of this class. Therefore, this member function can also access the secret message. But let's say we do not want this. We only want this member function to access the secret member variable. Now, if we want this, then we should not define this class as the friend class of this class. Instead, we should define this function as the friend function. I hope this makes sense to you. This is what I have mentioned here. Friend member functions are useful when we don't want the entire class to have access. Here we do not want this function to have access to the private member secret. For this purpose, we only define this function as the friend function of this class. Now, how we can do this? This can be done by replacing this line with this line. Here I am mentioning that readSecret is the function which is the member function of the class bestFriend. And I am doing this with the help of scope resolution operator. This is the declaration of the read secret function, and its return type is void. Here I am using the keyword friend to declare it as the friend function of this class. Now, this function can access the private member of this class. No other function of this class can access this private member. I hope this idea is clear to you. Now, it seems like this program will work as expected, just like before, and we will get the output on the screen. But here, we will get error from the compiler. Now, you might be thinking, why are we getting error here? We are doing everything right. We have made this member function the friend function of this class. Now, this function can access the variable secret. And this function is not using the secret variable, therefore we should not get error from the compiler, but we are getting error. And we are getting error because of the read secret function. This function is currently not visible to the compiler. I mean to say that the definition of this function is not visible to the compiler at this point. This is because compiler reads the code from top to bottom. And when it encounters this line, it will throw the error because the definition of this function is not available before this declaration. Its definition is available after its declaration, that is over here in this class. This is the problem. Now, to resolve this problem, we want this definition to be available before this class. We can do this by bringing this class to the top and by bringing this class to the bottom. That is, we need to shift the order of these classes. Here is how we can shift the order. Now we have the class best friend at the top and the class diary at the bottom. The code is exactly the same. We have just changed the order. Now there will be no problem. When compiler read the code, it will read the code from top to bottom and it will encounter the definition of the read secret function first. Then it will encounter the declaration. So there is no problem at all. Now compiler will not throw the error because of read secret function. But again, when we execute this program, we will get error from the compiler. Now, why are we getting error this time? There are two reasons why we are getting error at this moment. Understand this properly, that this read secret function is using the object D, which is of type diary. This means this is the object of class diary. But the definition of the class diary is available over here. And there is no declaration of this class before this usage. That is why we are getting error. This is reason number one. There is one more reason why we are getting error from the compiler. Here we are using the variable secret. Now this variable is declared over here in this class diary. We are using this variable before its declaration. This will cause error from the compiler. Now, how we can resolve these errors? We can see two reasons why we are getting error. This issue can easily be resolved. We need to just declare this class over here. Here, in place of this declaration, we want the declaration of the class diary like this. Now we have the forward declaration of the class diary. There will be no problem. Compiler will not throw error because of this object definition. Now, what about the usage of the secret variable? This variable can only be used when it is declared first. So for this purpose, we need to define this function after this class somehow. We already know this, that it is possible to define the function outside the class. We just need to use the scope resolution operator to tell the compiler that the function belongs to a specific class. Now here, we just need to declare this function, and then after this, we can define this function after this class definition. Then there will be no problem. So let's do this. Let's declare this function over here. Now we have the declaration of the function read secret. And after this class, we need to define our read secret function. And this can be done like this. I have defined this function over here because of lack of space. This function is defined after this class definition. Here you can observe this is the definition of the read secret function. Here I'm using the scope resolution operator to tell the compiler that this function is the member function of the best friend class. This is what we can observe. And this is the definition of the read secret function. Now, we can use this variable secret via the object of the class diary. There will be no problem. Now, when we execute this program, we will get the output as expected. Reading diary secret, I have a crush on coding. We are getting the same output as before in the last lecture. There is only one difference. Here we have not defined this entire class as the friend class of this class diary. Instead, we have just defined this function as the friend member function of this class diary. Here you can observe the same thing. I hope this idea is clear to you. Now here, I have defined this function talk as well. I want you to use the variable secret over here somehow. And I want you to check whether you would be able to use the variable secret over here or not. In this way, you will get to know whether this function would be able to access this private member or not. Please note that this function is not defined as the friend member function of this class. Therefore, this member is not accessible within this function. I want you to check the same thing. So this is your homework. So with this, we have learned friend member functions properly, and this means we are done with the topic friend member functions, and we are done with this lecture. Okay friends, this is it for now. Thank you for watching this lecture. I will see you in the next one.